What's cracking, YouTube? Today I'm showing you guys how I built this cutting board out of mahogany, oak, and walnut. I simplified this process just so that I could show you guys that really any cutting board can really be simplified. I know there's so many patterns out there that are super complex, but I'm showing you the simple way. This is the mahogany board right here. This is like a 12 by 1. All the boards are about 1 inch thick. They varied in width. But I started off by, of course, squaring off the ends, and then I set my stop block there and cut all these. I cut 3 pieces of each of these boards. I got them in about 6 to 8 feet long, but I cut them at about 25 inches each, desiring that my final cutting board is about 24 inches, 2 feet long. And I cut them an inch long just so that I could square off the ends when I get it all through the planer. Count for a little bit of snipe, but then here I'm getting ready to cut all the strips. Cut them all at 1 5/8, I believe. Since I will be throwing them through the planer, I'll lose a little bit of thickness. But these cuts right here through the table saw are going to determine the thickness, because we will be turning these boards on their side, and they will be glued on their faces. This is going to be an edge grain cutting board. So the top of the cutting board is going to be the edge of these pieces, as you can see right here. And the reason for that is the edge of the wood is pretty resistant to knife marks. It does pretty good at not showing so much. The face of the boards show a little bit more, but this is the most common type of cutting board right here, which is edge grain. And right here, I'm kind of messing with the pattern, seeing what looks good together. And a lot of people ask why cutting boards usually aren't just one slab of wood. And the reason for that is because one big slab of wood is more prone to warping. And if you got a bunch of pieces together like this, they're smaller pieces that are glued together are less prone to warping. So finally determined my patterns. Did this glue up in a half size, or in two sections, 2 glue ups here. So lathered on all that glue. You want to go heavy on the glue. You want glue on every single part of the surface there. You want each piece to be super glued up. You don't want any gaps in there. So be pretty heavy on the glue there. You could always get more glue. And then another thing is, I got these parallel clamps from Harbor Freight. They were a little bit pricey, but they definitely will do the job. They're pretty good at being pretty parallel, and the jaws are pretty are right angles, rather than the other clamps that you usually see me using. Those are just for clamping force. And for glue, I'm using Titebond 3. It's waterproof, super good in the dishwasher. It'll be all right. Especially for a cutting board like this that'll constantly being washed, and stuff like that. And another thing, guys, before you put glue and all your pieces up on your parallel clamps, what I did here is, as you can see underneath all the pieces, I put a little bit of masking tape, just so that the glue does not mess up the clamps so much. You could always peel it off, but it's always better to be preventative. And so I got all the pieces together, getting these clamps tightened up a little bit. You don't got to overkill it. You don't got to kill it so hard. Just as long as you get some squeeze out all the way along the lines there. And then I did use my other clamps that I have just to hold the middles together and help out with that glue up. All right, came out the next morning, took off all the clamps, got the planer ready, got this thing ready to send through, and I'm only taking off like a 64th of an inch. I don't go over that just because it's you don't necessarily need to. A bunch of quick passes that are small in depth are a lot better than overworking the planer. So I probably did like 4 passes each side, just to get it nice and smooth, until I was happy with the smoothness and the thickness. Just made sure that I kept the board over 1.5 inches. But like I mentioned, couple passes each side, probably 3 to 4. And then this happened right here. My freaking planer went out. It took the power out of the house. Let me know if that happens to you guys too, man. This thing, it's almost like every single time I'm using it, it wants to take the power out of the house. But after I ran it through the planer, I just went ahead and cut off some of the ends here. I didn't. So in the glue up, I wasn't perfect on the flushness on each side here. So I just took off a little bit, as you can see there. It looks like I didn't even cut nothing off that edge right there, but I did. Did this to one side, flipped it on over, did it to the other side as well, squared it on up. But man, once you take off the clamps after the glue up, you really feel how heavy and solid the cutting board is. It feels like you're actually, making a nice piece of art, a nice piece of woodworking art. So that's real cool once you get the clamps out. So squared off the ends, and then I was gonna get ready to pop my router out and start rounding over those edges. I got this little router set from Harbor Freight, and those Diablo ones, they're super good, but they're kind of expensive, man. For like one round over, it's looking like 30-40 bucks. So I don't really make cutting boards that much, so I was okay just grabbing a quick little set from Harbor Freight, little round over set. Comes with like 3 of them, small, medium, and large. And so I went ahead and chucked up one of those in my router. And you could probably go like a sacrificial piece just to see how much round over you want. But in my case, I just went little by little until I was happy with the round over. So I went ahead and did this to every single corner and edge on the board, both sides. Okay, and after rounding over all the edges on the board, I went ahead and did a juice groove. And now the juice groove is optional, but I think it adds a lot of character to the board. And setting up the bumpers for this juice groove is just really offsetting the router base to the center of your router bit. And in my case, I just kind of measured from the edge how far in I wanted the juice groove to be, and then I just did my calculations for the offset on my router base and the center of my bit. And now just the trick here is just keeping the router up against the bumpers. And after the juice groove, I went ahead and got ready for the handles. And now the handles, the way that I did this was I found the center of the board there, and then I marked over 2 inches each way. And the reason for 2 inches is because a hand typically fits in about 4 inches comfortably. So I found the center, marked 2 inches over each way, and then from that 2-inch mark, I marked over another 1 5/8 because that's the edge of my router base to the center of my bit. Sorry, to the edge of my bit. And so my router bit would pretty much go to those 2-inch marks that I marked each way, and then the 1 5/8 mark is where I would stop the router at the router base, if that makes sense. I'm gonna show you guys. You'll see right here in a second. And so I squared off that 1 5/8 mark just so that it's clear where I needed to stop my router base. And for the handles, I'm using the same bit that I made the juice groove with, which is that bullnose. It's just a round router bit. And so here I go. You're gonna see that the edge of my router base goes right up to that line that I made. And then I'm also using that what you call it, the router guide on the back of the router there that comes with most routers. And then so boom, right there, I stopped at that line. All right, and you can see right there, I went a little bit deeper on the router bit. And so little by little, guys, I just go little passes, and then after each pass, I could get a little bit more depth on it until I was happy with the depth on the handles there. All right, and after adding all the characteristics with the router, juice groove, and handles, I'm moving on to sanding, and I wanted to attack the juice grooves first. So what I did is I grabbed a small little pencil, and wrapped it with some sandpaper. And I did sand the juice grooves from 60 grit all the way up to 150. Same with all the surfaces, 60 all the way up to 150. And then after the 150, I hit it with the water pop, which you'll see me do here in just a second. And I do that before the final 220 sand. And that's because once the board takes some moisture on it from like a dishwasher or something, the moisture kind of makes the fiber stand up and you'll lose the smoothness on the board. So you'll kind of want to do this before it actually goes out into the world. So get the fibers up yourself, water pop it, and after it dries from the water pop, then we could go ahead and sand it with the 220. And once you sand it with that 220, man, that thing feels like a piece of art. It feels super smooth, and that's what I'm gonna do here in just a second. So there goes that 220 sand. That thing's gonna feel super nice after this, and then we're getting ready for that finish. So we're gonna apply some oil first, some mineral oil, and of course I'm using that walrus oil, cutting board oil, and this is just gonna treat it super nicely, pushing all that in, get it nice and soaked up in there. So we're gonna soak it all up, gonna let that thing sit for about 15 minutes, and then I'm gonna wipe off the excess oil with a rag. And then after that dries up for 24 hours, I'm hitting it with the walrus cutting board wax. And this kind of the same process. You kind of just lather it all on there, get it nice and saturated onto there, get that juice groove, get it all up in there. You're gonna wait about 15 minutes, and then you're just gonna kind of wipe off the excess with a towel, or you can get like a microfiber towel and buff it up in there. And then pretty much after that, you guys are all done. Got yourself a nice cutting board in the simplest way. Check it on out. Boom. Let me know what you guys think, man. Kind of try to make this simple just so that you kind of see the process, kind of see that it's simple to make. I know all the tools you might not have, but it is a simple process, and really anybody could do this, make a professional looking cutting board, and we're really happy about this one, man. So I really appreciate you guys for watching. Hit that like, comment, subscribe for me, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.